Hey, this is your buddy, Peace and Harmony. We are zooming in and focusing in a little bit more in depth on a great Vera question, and that is what happens when you're having a difficult time moving through the relationship with someone who has done you wrong, or you feel that you are doing them wrong by making a decision in the relationship. So, when we talk about relationship issues, there should be really a level of trust. Not only that you trust yourself, but that you have trust in the relationship. Trust meaning, no matter what, all is well. No matter what, in God we trust, is printed on the US dollar. And so trust meaning a sense of reliability, a sense of certainty, a sense of it's going to be okay. And in other words, it's not all me. And when we talk about really a relationship with a narcissist or a psychopath and then those relationship issues, there's usually a degree of pressure, tension, stress, pain, guilt, apathy, depression, melancholy, broodingness, recurring thoughts, all of these, can be very uncomfortable, undesirable for the other individual. And so the narcissist and their desirability, oftentimes it is contingent or conditional upon specifics. Usually them looking good, or, if you can help them get what they want, which is usually something superficial, materialistic, or something else in vain. Not in vain, but meaning in empty, but really that's what they desire. So the narcissist and their desirability, usually it has something to do with status and power. Not always happiness for them, not always resolving their insecurity, because they want to sort of shut that out and just pretend that, that their problems don't exist. And it's kind of like with issues, if you ignore them, you think that they're going to go away. But with feelings and anger states and things that need to be resolved, if you ignore it, it will not go away. If you ignore it, it'll loom even larger. So you need to fill up yourself with a certain lightness or certain allowing where you understand how desire maybe moved or motivated the relationship, and then their desire, and then what was your desire? Did your desire get sort of flattened out, steamrolled, thrown out the window, thrown out in the trash, the bathwater? What about your desire? Usually it was sort of frosted over. Not attended to, invalidated, or snuffed out, extinguished, not given life, not given breath, not given vision, not given all these other aspects of relationship growth. So for relationship growth, there has to be an agreed upon vision, just like in a business, a mission statement. This is what we're about. This is what we're, and then you go to that business. Oh, I'm going to go and get this, here. And then if they don't match up, then they're not in sync with your values. So then usually with a narcissist, there's a certain desirability state that they need you to be as almost as if a prop on a stage to further their ends. It has nothing to do with you. So that's how you know that this relationship and the desirability, if you want different things, if you don't want some of the same things, if you and so that desirability, usually there's like a giving in or a compromise. This is normal, but yet when you're completely flattened out, you're not given any dimension or depth or acknowledgement for who you are, even if you're different, have different desires. If that's judged, belittled, compared against, made wrong, how you do things normally, naturally, organically. So that flow state, that's where they sort of truncate you. And so, in other words, this can be very paralyzing and cause people to stunt their growth, their happiness, their I am, and then being in sync with their own desires, and then being able to improve them. In other words, being able to evolve, grow, just like an artist will go through certain phases. Picasso, the blue stage, whatever, your relationships are going to move and grow. They're not going to be static. Usually, there's that back and forth, but the desire of the narcissist will oftentimes be a direct conflict with the desires of another. In fact, they need that sort of yank it out of your hand, that's mine sort of scenario, because they're always sort of banking on that one up, the taller building, in what neighborhood, and then all of a sudden they have the clout. That's what they always want to do that. And then people end up really just I feel sort of hanging their own desires, their own, hanging up their desires and leaving them in the closet, like their head is just hung, their desires will never be, followed. And it's kind of like, to me, as an analogy, it's kind of like when you're holding your head in that absolute shame, it becomes kind of like what is a shade, if you will. And I'm not sure what this relates to, but it becomes like you become like a shade rather than a light to your own beingness, your own I amness, your own passion, your own desire, your own mission statement. So in order to be like a living, thriving business entity, I am, your soul, your feeling, your pursuits, being in alignment with that, it can be really sort of truncated, chopped off, meaning your life doesn't have that sort of flow and energy. And then how do you retain that and understanding how desires from the narcissist will oftentimes be the impediment. And it takes you out of where you need to be on track. So it's like, in other words, it reminds me of a time when I was in my youth, I think maybe 14 or 11 or 12, 13, maybe 11, 12, and I was first learning to go skiing. And, there's this like Snowflake Club, and you could get on this bus with other juveniles, 12, 11, 13. We're going to go skiing for the first time. And, I was so excited because I was, this is going to be like my second or third trip, and I was getting better, improving, and, I was all, sort of in my snow pants, my jacket, and I had my hair braided and my hat on. And I'm like, not only am I out there, but I'm looking cute. I got my hair in braids. And, I got basically with my head thrown into the door of where I lived, just get out of my way, just sort of slam. And then I had a big welt on my head. But, it's just sort of that, sort of experience. In other words, there's desires. You'll have a certain desire. There's an image, a feeling. And then if someone, is going to say, this is my desire, your happiness is not what I desire, or seeing that, bam. So you have to realize that there can be these exchanges where they really can be impactful to you, and what you pursue and identify with your desires, and then will then label them, and then label yourself, I do not deserve. So I think there has to be some situation where that was drilled into you, the I do not deserve state. And so you might not be able to locate an experience. You might be able to come up with tens of dozens of experiences, where this has happened. You rise up and then this, and you keep getting up. Well, it's okay, but it's better if you keep getting up around good people. If you keep getting up around the narcissist, growing, or these types of people who are all about their desires, and they really couldn't be further from caring about you, how you're doing, who you are, what's important. If it doesn't make a narcissist or a psychopath look good, then chances are they will not want to have a relationship with you. You might be perfectly loving, supportive, helpful to whatever, and it does not make sense. So, knowing this to be the case, look at where, in what area of your beingness, and it might continue to this very day, but where did you feel that you don't deserve, that this is wrong, it's going to hurt somebody? There's usually some sort of deterrent deterring you. What are those, back in the day, it was, eat your what's on your plate. They're starving kids in China. And that is true. And then so it's just like, it doesn't make sense, but you're going to go ahead and eat that because there's people who could only wish to have, what is on your plate. So you should have gratitude, but oftentimes, that feeling of you are there, what's wrong, with you, you are, spoiled, I think is usually a big one for you don't deserve. You are ungrateful. You are, and so all these are like nailed into, rehearsed and rememorized and then spoken the word onto them. So then these people, and then, so you have to realize that the narcissist oftentimes, the psychopath oftentimes create that within other people.